are you guys?
Hi.
At the beginning of the speech, Charlie, you said a very smart guy said that he likes the way Candace Owens thinks, obviously referring to Kanye West. And then 2 days ago, you said that Taylor Swift knew nothing about politics when she endorsed a Democrat. So I just want to know, I'm actually on your side, like I am a conservative, but I'm just wondering, why should we listen to Taylor Swift more than Kanye West when Kanye West is clearly pretty neurotic?
I can answer that, it's very simple. Kanye West has not told anybody who they should go vote for or what they should think. He simply said that he supports the president. Taylor Swift came out and wrote a diatribe saying exactly what we know all leftists say. This person is a racist, this person is a sexist, this person is misogynist, and I am not voting for this person and you shouldn't either. Kanye West has never done that, not once. He simply says he supports the president. That's a message of love.
Good question. It's a fair question. If you read her post, she has absolutely no idea what she's talking about. First of all, she endorsed the Democrats, so that goes without saying. Secondly, she says martial law is against women. The woman who championed 15 anti-sexual assault pieces of legislation through Congress. The woman that has championed opioid solution legislation throughout Congress. The woman who defied all odds in the Old Boys Network in Tennessee, became a congresswoman, now she's going to be a female senator from Tennessee, is somehow anti-woman. It's obvious that Taylor Swift was fed these talking points by someone on the far left and convinced her to say this. It was full of so much inaccuracy, so much misunderstanding of American politics, that it's quite evident that she has no idea what she's talking about.
But do pay attention. Kanye West never tells anybody what to think, ever. He just says, this is what I think and I support the president. That is a message of love and unity, and that should be promoted and respected.
But, he did say abolish the 13th Amendment, so can I get your opinion on that? That seems kind of weird.
Well, he backtracked it in the second tweet. I love when people always say, like with Twitter, like you look at one tweet and then you don't want to look at the one after it. And he said, let me just actually, explain what I was saying. And then he went on to TMZ and he spoke about talking about prisoners. He was talking about the portion in the 13th Amendment that refers to crime justice reform, which is why he's going to meet with Jared Kushner. Him and Kim are very passionate about prison reform, and he thinks that there should be opportunities made available for people that are coming out of prison, and I support that, and have done work in that space as well.
And so the administration,
Correct.
And that's I'm a former prosecutor, San Francisco District Attorney's Office, Los
Undefeated.
Angeles DA's office, head of the trial division, who was on death penalty team, the whole deal. So this is something I know a lot about, and the United States administration, and Jared in particular, has been really trying to pave the way on this for meaningful criminal justice reform, for prison reform, so that people can actually get back out into the workforce to provide for themselves and for their family after they have served their time. Who's the party putting this forward? The Republicans.
If the Democrats did it, it would be the biggest story in the world. But they had their chance for 8 years. And what'd they do? As usual, all talk, no action.
Thank you for your question.
My question is for Candace. You said that I believe that Kanye West is the bravest person in America. What does this say about the thousands of people that serve our country every day in the military?
Let's be clear. I have the utmost respect for the people that serve this country every single day, the police officers that serve this country, the military people that serve this country. So I was being hyperbolic in saying that in terms of ideological bravery, in terms of somebody that did something that can change the trajectory of this country, the left has had a stranglehold on culture. Everything that comes through the TV screen, everything that comes on the airways, everything that you're putting on your headphones and hearing in music is giving you a liberal message. To stand up to the leftist mob, you cannot overstate how impactful and how brave he is. I do not mean to suggest that he's braver than somebody who's out fighting for the country and the freedoms for that, but I do want to make a strong statement to say that what Kanye West is doing, he is one of the bravest men in America, because I'm telling you, what he is doing is going to change the game of this country.
What are you saying about slavery?
Wait, I just have a question. Why are white liberals now doing the Black Power symbol? Is that a thing now? Does everyone turn around here? When did you guys have that history? I'm just curious. It's very cool. And by the way, I talk about this all the time. You want to talk about the things that they do? They use black people and they take things. This is why Amy Schumer does this as well. They hold the Black Power symbol. Why on earth are you holding the Black Power symbol? It is so dangerous. I'm not doing it now. They're talking now.
Imagine having your life be so sad. You have to reserve tickets, scream every 20 seconds about stuff that is all factual, and then walk out using the Black Power sign despite blacks in this country doing better than ever before. It's quite an unbelievable investment.
I'm just concerned because it's actually a waste of their time. But let's get back to the question and let them file out like there's a fire drill of some sort.
Thank you for being here. What's your name?
Okay, my name is Quinn Thomas, and one day I will be the President of the United States.
Hey.
Don't clap for me because after I say what I have to say, y'all won't be clapping for me. I came here not with the idea to yell or to protest or do any of that because I just wanted to learn and hear what other people of opposing ideology had to say.
Give them a round of applause for that.
But I thought I would be here at something more open where we could all have conversation. I felt like I was just being attacked every 20 seconds with the language and the rhetoric that you guys use. Like Candace, I feel like for you, I feel like you can't even say anything about you're preaching to the black community in a room full of white people.
I was at the HBCU last night.
You're preaching about the black community in a room.
HBCU last night.
Well, take that message back to the HBCU.
I already did. I did. It's live stream.
Well, take it back.
So you're wrong. So you just tried to say something that's not true. You're trying to paint the world as if there's all white people here is not, and you're trying to make it seem like I'm afraid to go speak to my community, and you're wrong. So that'll be shut down.
Candace, I clearly know that you have taken this message on the road to HBCU.
Last night.
As I learned from you, because before today I didn't know who you were. But what I was saying was, Candace, is I don't feel like you can have that conversation here in a room full of white
Because
people.
of liberals. They kept
Why do you
interrupting us.
feel that we have to be segregated? Why do you feel like we have to be segregated from white people?
But back to my question to somebody who I know, because I don't know you.
Some future president.
Donald Trump Jr. Yeah, Donald Trump Jr. My question is, how do you support your father for the things that he said, such as he believes that you should grab women by the...
He didn't say that. I want to say something. Let me do it.
No, that's a ridiculous question.
It's such a ridiculous
Because I'm
question.
sure you've never said anything
Are you
bad.
mad? Are you mad? But you just called liberals Christians, right? But you're mad. You're mad. You're mad.
First and foremost, actually, since we're bringing
We
up
can talk.
HBCU, somebody asked this question, and she asked it respectfully because she wasn't trying to get a bunch of attention, which is what you're trying to do right now. And she said to me, Candace, how can you support a president that said that he wants to grab women by the pussy? First off, the left ran away with that, and they changed around his words. He said specifically that there are women who would literally let them grab them by the pussy. He did say that, correct? And I asked her a question back. I said, how bizarre is it that we are pretending, as people, especially the black people that listen to hip-hop lyrics, when all they do is talk about groupies, and how groupies will literally let men do anything to them. Basketball stars talk about this, rappers talk about this in their music, Jay-Z talks about this, Beyonce talks about this in her music, about girls that try to be up on Jay-Z and her man. Now all of a sudden we're all going, oh my goodness, I can't believe that men having a private conversation behind closed doors acknowledge the same thing, and there are women who act like that. So it's a fake question. You're acting like that's not something that we all know.
But do
He
you
didn't say
know?
he was going to go around and grab women by the pussy. So you've taken that and you've made something that's not real and it's not true. He never said that.
There's also a double
Next
standard.
question.
Anyone in this room, have any of you guys had a beer?
I don't drink.
You guys are conservatives. So having a beer in high school or college would preclude you from public service later on in life. But if you were the president and you were a liberal, you could blow lines all day long and it's not a problem. That's the double standard of what's up. You can do cocaine and be president, but if you're conservative, you can't have a beer.
But this is why nobody identifies with left anymore. They act like there's some angel princess. Oh, we would never say that about a groupie. Oh, we would never have a beer. The fact that he was drinking in high school. Nobody identifies them because of just this sort of a thing. Men in locker rooms can talk a certain way. By the way, women talk a lot worse than that. Let me tell you that, okay? Women talk worse than that. And they act like they're princesses and they can't believe that people can have real conversations behind closed doors. That's why your party's losing. Next question.
Next question. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next question.
I said next question.
Well, I would just like to say that I completely agree with him, and I also came to listen. I'm a political science minor. I'm pre-med, but I added political science just because it interests me. and I came in here, you guys talk about conservative ideas, like academic stuff, and I came here to be attacked as a liberal. And so I was wondering, what was your point for coming here other than attacking?
But nevertheless, look at the fact that how great it is that you did come. And I think that's fantastic. And guess what? You had the mic today. You're able to ask questions and express your viewpoint. I want to hear them. I want you to make your own decisions about what you believe in and what you stand for, because that's what this country is founded on. We have freedom of thought and not groupthink. So good for you. You'll make your own decisions.
And the people in this room, just so you understand why we go around, they never get to see their ideas expressed. When they're in classrooms, they have teachers that don't agree with them. When they turn on the news, they have news anchors telling them that they're racist and sexist and misogynist. They deserve to have people stand on stage and acknowledge their beliefs and tell them that they are just Americans and it's okay to love this country. So we do not need to make you feel bad, but we also want to give them an opportunity to be who they are and feel comfortable wearing a MAGA hat once in a while.
And if you have an academic question about any policy, about why this president is on pace to be the most successful president of U.S. history, or why free market capitalism is the most moral, effective, and proven economic system with most people out of poverty and prosperity, or why America is the greatest country in the history of the world, or why the Constitution is the greatest political document ever written, or why Western civilization is the greatest experiment ever tried, I can have those conversations at any time. But I'm here for the silent majority that is silent no longer, to give them the courage, confidence, and conviction to fight on campuses.
But can't you do all that without attacking liberals? Like,
We never attacked. We said the left.
It's like
There's a difference
It's the
between the left
victim
and liberals.
mentality instantly. You weren't attacked. No one's attacked
It's a
you.
spectrum, and the left side is.
Well, actually, we were the
No,
ones
it's
being interrupted by
We were being interrupted by
They
the
came here to
apparatus.
interrupt us and what we were doing. I mean, you saw that just now, didn't you?
Yes, and I was in that group, and I stayed to ask a question.
Okay,
All of
but
us
who's
were here
attacking
to
you?
talk
This is
about.
the right way to do it. Bottom line is this is an open event. Okay, it wasn't closed, and everybody is welcome here and invited. You want to engage in civil discourse. We treat each other with respect. We may have different viewpoints, ideas, backgrounds, etc. Amen.
But I do
But
want to
I
say,
feel like I wasn't treated.
Oh, okay.
We're still standing and talking, and you have the microphone, so look at it.
Here's what's so important, though. I want everyone to hear this very, very carefully. Is that we didn't attack anybody. That is a complete fabrication. It's just, this might be the first time you've heard conservative ideas, so you might think your own ideas are under attack.
Right now. You're not under attack. We just don't agree with your ideas. That's it.
And
So
when we point out factual problems with the American left, like that they held an FBI, like where they held this accusation for 6 weeks, where we say the left only cares about power.
or black people don't have to be Democrats. That's not to attack you. That's just a
They
fact.
don't have to be Democrats.
These might be wildly controversial sentiments on a college campus, but no one's under attack. In fact, we're successfully recruiting more members and growing the base every single day. And so we appreciate you being here, but we want one instance where you felt personally or under attack, because that did not happen to me.
It's not, okay, this will be the last thing I'll say, and then I'll leave because I'm very sick of me. But, really, it's not about what you say, but how you say it. Like, especially you, Charlie, you're really aggressive with how you say it.
So
No, what I'm saying is that it's
So
not
it's the
conservative.
start.
So it's the way you
Can I
feel.
clarify? May I clarify?
It's a
Like,
feeling and
never
it's not a
said
fact.
it.
It's a
May I
feeling and it's
clarify?
not a fact.
Go ahead.
It's not necessarily the conservative ideas that get on a lot of our minds, it's how you present them and how you use them. Okay.
So
Okay, I said that was gonna be
I
my
should talk like this very slowly. The left
I can talk like
only cares about.
I'm not a bear.
Let me try. Black people don't have to be Democrats.
And that was condescending, and I will leave it at
Same
that.
facts. Okay,
Thank you
same
for your
facts.
question. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Chris Xavier. I go to the University of Georgia, where I study American history, constitutional history specifically, and I have a minor in museum studies. Y'all don't want to know all that, but just in case anyone's hiring, that's my short resume. My question is kind of for Charlie, but all of you, I don't know what your specific beliefs are, but I know in your Twitter bio it says that we're all sinners saved by grace, we're saved by Jesus, and I respect that. My family are preachers and ministers, and they consequently all voted for Trump, and I am also, I'm a theologian myself, so I study the Bible a lot. So I was reading this in James, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it just says, "Can not faith save them? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, be warm, filled,' without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that?" So I guess what my question is, I'm having a pretty rough time reconciling or trying to find a political party that represents what this is. I feel like I want to treat people how I want to be treated, which means that I would like to eat, I would like to go to the doctor, I would like to know that I can have a job, I would like to know that I can sustain my family. And so it's pretty difficult to reconcile those beliefs with some of the things that I hear through what you all are saying. So can I support this and support this at the same time? Or what do you guys do?
I just want to say that was a really great question. That was a really respectful, great question first.
So let me tell you, I'm an evangelical Christian, saved by grace. Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world, in my own opinion, and the Bible's the greatest book ever written. 66 books, 35 authors, 5,000 years of history, the most important person ever to live. Four eyewitness accounts, Mark, Luke, and John. But here's the most important part about the verse that you said. Nowhere does it say government has to do those things. Let me finish.
Sorry. And I understand that completely. But in this current day and time, the church attendance is shrinking. So we like to believe that we're the people of God are going to do these things. But at the end of the day, they're not. They don't have the power. They don't have the people.
I would totally disagree with you. Here's my own opinion. I have evidence to support it.
Well, I've been pointing out for half these churches, and those resources aren't just available.
I allowed you to go without interruption, so allow me to finish. First and foremost, Jesus Christ never talked to the collective. He talked to the individual. It's what the individual person has to do to find salvation, to live a better life. If Jesus Christ cared about politics, he would have tried to overthrow Caesar. He would have tried to overthrow Pontius Pilate. Instead, he was on a crusade for the individual. Specifically in the parable of the talents, which if anyone here knows Christianity and knows the New Testament, Jesus talked about how an individual that is given a lot of gift must be called to reproduce those gifts in multitude. Then the individual must, with those gifts, in order to do that, must live in a free society. Secondly, the biggest misinterpretation of the gospel from the American left is somehow that compassion is equated that I must take stuff from other people through government and give it to people that don't have it. Instead, I would argue the Judeo-Christian ethic is to have individuals do that, have charities do that, have churches do that, and have communities do that. The reason that has been diminishing is because government has been getting bigger. As government grows, the individual shrinks. The left wants government to be big. In fact, they want government to become God. What we conservatives want is we want government to stay out of our lives so that we can honor God because we believe our rights come directly from God. And we also say that it is no excuse to grow government because people are falling short. Instead, we as Christians, because you and I are both Christians, should do everything in our own possible power to convert as many people as possible and live that out in our own life and say it's not up to a government agency or a government bureaucracy to take from that which has to give to that who doesn't. Jesus never called for that. He said, what are you doing to help the other poor person?
Just one more follow-up question. But the Bible also does say that one stick can be broken pretty quickly. But if you bind 2 or 3 of those sticks together, then they'll be stronger. It also says that in this walk that we're living, that you need to be...
Let her finish. It's a good question.
And it is what the Bible says, because I know what it says. I wouldn't have come up here unless I knew what it says.
Let her finish.
It also says that we're supposed to, when we're walking on this journey with our lives, that we're supposed to pick up and help each other. But even if the communities and things are supposed to be what is helping out the people who are less fortunate, it's just not enough. Even if you look at Athens, there's plenty of charities and things of that nature, but half of the city is hungry, half of the city is jobless, and those charities just aren't doing it. So what do we do now?
Great, phenomenal question. The cities that are the most hopeless, the most murderous, are the ones that tried to help the most amount of people run by Democrats for the last 100 years. Philadelphia, Detroit, Oh, I'm sorry?
Athens is pretty Republican historically, but...
Well, no. But the most, if you show me an American ghetto, I'll show you a Democrat in control.
I think there are ghettos and poor people everywhere. And that's my concern, is just that that poor people and hungry people are across party lines. It doesn't matter, there are ugly Republicans and there are hungry Democrats.
Okay, so listen, I'm impressed by your question. You obviously thought about it, prepared time. You're not coming up here with antics like some other people want to probably try to do. So I appreciate your time and you coming here. This president supports the establishment of religion, okay? He is very supportive of churches, of people coming together to help those in the community when you've been blessed to give back. And that is the role of the individual. And that is also why, because God wants us to help ourselves, a strong, robust economy okay, with more jobs than we have people to fill them right now, will help live and raise people up and live better and be able to provide for themselves. Because I believe people want to work hard in this country and earn their paychecks so that they can give back individually to other people.
I agree.
4 million new jobs.
Right. And
I mean,
I will.
that's never been done. Had Barack Obama created 4 million new jobs in the amount of time that Donald Trump did, he would have been a deity. But when Donald Trump does it, it doesn't count.
What I found interesting was at the beginning of the question, you said you're struggling, as to which party, to affiliate your theological beliefs to. But there's only one party that mocks God, that mocks Jesus Christ, and stands on a stage and says that, people that pray are crazy.
And
So
cling
your
to guns
position
and
shouldn't be that
religion.
difficult.
That was Obama.
I will say, and I'm also just speaking from my own personal experience. So
Right.
I used to live in California. I've been across this country 5 different times. I've met everyone you can meet. I've been to every different church you could go to. I've been to places that aren't churches. And it just seems like even though my concerns are like of the theologian nature, there are people who still want to do good, who aren't necessarily in that camp or who believe in the Bible and things of that nature. And so it's just trying to find, or what are we going to do? We can say personal charity, but if that person just feels like, oh, that person's going to be charitable, and then that person feels like, oh, that person's going to be charitable, then no charity gets done. And I've seen in my years of experience that that's what happens a lot, and so many people are falling through the cracks. It looks like we might need another source to...
Well, let me ask a question, though. Do you think the government or charity does a better job of helping poor people? Better?
I think they both do a horrible job. That's why we need something different.
I totally disagree. Charities do a phenomenal job because charities are incentivized to solve the problem. Government is not. I mean, I look at the unbelievable work that the Christian charities have done, the Jewish charities have done. I mean, whether it be the Jewish hospitals or the Catholic schools all across the country, it's hard to say they've done a horrible, terrible job.
Not so much that they've done a horrible, terrible job, but I used to go to a church in Gwinnett, and for 3 times a week, we would feed people. So 3 times out of my week for about 8 years, we would feed people once a week. But the time and the effort that comes out of that, for most people nowadays, especially with more people have to work longer, it's just hard. And it's harder for people to support themselves and to support other people.
So the final thing I'll say is this. We'll wrap it all up. Life expectancy in year 1900 was 44 years. People died. Now life expectancy is 80 for women, 76 for men. And that is largely because of free market economy. Less people live globally in absolute poverty today than any other time in human history thanks to free market capitalism. Let me finish.
That was medicine, but...
Where do you think medicine comes from?
I think it comes from people wanting other people to
It comes from entrepreneurs.
But I understand how much you're going
Government, yeah, medicine definitely doesn't come from government. It comes from entrepreneurs that take risks and so forth. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your question. We'll go to the next one. Thank you.
So, last week there was a conference in South Korea, and scientists agreed that we have 12 more years to make some changes before an irreversible 3 degrees climate change, or 3 degrees centimeter change. So how do you propose to balance deregulation with an increased urgency for environmental policy?
So they said that in 1988.
They said that when I was in school, for
They
sure.
said
We
that in
had 10
97.
years to figure it out, or we're all going to be swimming in the ocean.
They've been saying this for 30 years.
Just keep saying it.
It doesn't change the fact that there needs to be some sort
It's
of
not, what we're
regulation.
saying to you is that it's not a fact because they keep saying this threat of telling us that we have 10 years to figure it out or we're all going to be swimming in the ocean. They reintroduce this non-fact about every 10 years. That's
Campaign talking.
It's nothing more than an attack on the American industrial
I was
system.
forced
based
to
on
watch
fossil fuels.
Convenient Truth when I was in middle school, and I literally, Al Gore told us that we had about 10 years to figure it out.
And we're seeing
I'm doing
the effects
okay.
now. We're seeing
We
the
pulled out
effects
of the Paris Climate Accord, and we are still the leader.
Let the world.
I mean, you guys know the stats better than I do. I mean, the only difference is we're not giving trillions of our dollars. They could be going to charity.
Scientists
could be
agree
giving
that
to
climate
other
change is a thing.
Scientists
We
also-
need to do something. All
Let me
we're
ask you a
asking, how do
question.
you
Let me ask
propose
you
to deregulate with environmental
All right,
policy?
okay, first and foremost, the question is, should we have a human-first policy or a questionable science-first policy? Okay, let me finish. We allowed you to have your part. There's 3 questions when it comes to climate change. Can you definitively prove that humans are contributing to rising global temperatures? They cannot. They cannot. Because you know why? They say 97% of scientists agree. Which, by the way, is a very, very flawed study with government-funded scientists. But here's the thing. Science is not a democracy. You don't take a vote on gravity. You prove it. I want to know what the 3% feel. I want to know what the dissenters
are
believe.
funded by-
Let me finish. The second thing is if you can definitively prove that humans are contributing to rising global temperatures, then what do you do about it? Because there's a lot of disagreement about it. Do we hamper our whole fossil fuel industry? Do we stop fracking? Do we stop drilling? Do we get rid of our carbon economy? The left says yes. I say no, because I like electricity, and I like poor people to have electricity. The third thing is, if you hamper your economy, at what cost? What's actually going to come of it? Because they said in the Paris Climate Accord that President Trump courageously pulled out of, it would have hampered our economy with trillions of dollars in regulation to maybe lower global temperatures by half of 1 degree over 30 years. That's one of the worst deals you could ever possibly negotiate.
While no one else had to do anything for 10 years.
Right, and we subsidize other polluters like China. So we're going to give people and reward them and give them money that actually don't abide by the standards that on our own, the United States is one of the best and has the best record in this regard.
And the final thing I'll say is, if you care about the environment, you should be a raging capitalist. Because the greatest innovations that come to try to make the economy more green come from entrepreneurs like Elon Musk. Not the EPA. Because if you're not an environmentalist, the best way to solve big problems is not through big government. It's through entrepreneurship, it's through capitalism, it's through risk taking.
Government just basically exists to figure out how to take money from you and tell you that they're going to produce a solution, but they never, ever, ever produce any solutions.
Capitalism is notoriously inefficient, just like...
I'm sorry? Grocery stores are inefficient?
Yes.
Really?
Look at any
We have an abundance problem, not a scarcity problem of food in the West. How can you say capitalism is notoriously inefficient? You obviously take an economics class by Marxist.
The dumpster at Earth Fair is full of stuff. Every day.
What?
Thank you for your propaganda. Have a good night.
Thank you.
See, what I love is he's going to go eat at Chipotle, take an Uber, use his iPhone. He's going to tell us that capitalism is the worst thing ever. Only in a free market Western economy can someone live a life of luxury at very little expense or cost and tell me that capitalism doesn't work. Thank you. What's the next one?
Hi, so in 2016 I voted for Hillary Clinton and I regret it every day of my life.
Let's give that a standing ovation. That is one of the greatest lines I've heard.
Sometimes I have trouble sleeping at night. And when I found out that the president endorsed Brian Kemp, that's when I went out and voted for him. I'm going to vote for him in November. And so, I don't want to go back and forth, but I have a softball question for Candace and Charlie, and I have a hardball question for Kimberly and Dawn. So the softball question is, and these are both regarding the Supreme Court. With everything that's been going on the past few weeks, do you think the left is going to try and abolish To Kill a Mockingbird because Atticus Finch defends an innocent person?
Yes, they do like to wipe away history, so at a certain point they'll just get rid of that book altogether when they realize that it didn't serve them in this argument. So yes, you can expect that. That's something that they're really good at, and that's why I said I spoke out against it vehemently, because I understand my history and I understand the dangers of letting people just say whatever they want, believing them because they're women, and apparently we never lie.
And your hardball?
But Hillary Clinton.
So my kind of hardball question for Kimberly and Dawn as surrogates of the president is most of us attend University of Georgia, which is an amazing school, but I think a lot of us are troubled that the Supreme Court is made up of just Ivy League graduates. I know a lot of us like Amy Coney Barrett.
We love Amy Barrett, right?
And so my question is, do you really think that the president will entertain having a non-Ivy League person nominated either in the next 2 years or the second term, which will happen?
Well, without question. I mean, it's no surprise who's on the list, because unlike everyone else, he published it when he was still a candidate. He put out a list of 30 justices, and so not all of those people are Ivy League. I mean, and anyone in this room and anyone who watched the news, it's accurate that she was certainly one of the people that would have been top on that list. And so, I think what you should do is you should get Ruth Bader Ginsburg to retire.
Thank you so much for your question. We appreciate it.
I hope you sleep better at night now.
Hey, my name's Art. I was fortunate enough to go with the School of Public and International Affairs to China this past May, and we got to go to the U.S. Embassy. In the embassy, I guess this question is more for you, Mr. Trump Jr., but yeah, at the embassy, we got to learn about a lot of the actions and comments that that your father has made, and the I guess consequences, or however you want to look at it, consequences that come with that. But they were saying that it's creating an erratic style of international policy that a lot of other countries cannot, I guess, not contend with, but just work with.
No, I think you hit it right. They can't contend with it because they're used to us bowing down and giving them whatever. This is the first presidency to actually use the economic might of the United States. We are the largest consumer in the world. The fact that these countries are used to, they talk, oh no, he's going to do something with trade. Guess what? Why wouldn't we? Why has it not been touched before? We import 100x from them that they do from us. When we send something over there, it's tariffed. When they do it from us, if we enter a trade war and we have the guts to stay in it for more than 2 seconds, we win because we consume so much more. The problem we have with other countries is they're used to bureaucrats being incompetent. They're used to people not even asking the question of, well, why are you taking advantage of us, or why should we just accept that? No one even asked the question before. So doing this and changing it up is changing the game, because all of these guys, then they get on TV and they say, oh, it's so terrible, Trump's doing this, it's really going to affect our friendship. Well, guess what, guys? If your friendship with us is predicated on you being able to screw us, on you being able to take advantage of us, you're not that good a friend. That's the reality. Make no mistake. China will do whatever is right for China. Most of these other countries, with the exception of some of the crazy politicians in this country, will do whatever is right for their country. So when they act a little outraged, it's not because it's good for them. It's because we're finally taking care of ourselves. I use the analogy all the time. You know, when you're in an airplane, and we fly a lot these days, okay? Something happens. The pilot says, put on your mask before taking care of those around you. When we solve our own problems, then we can deal with the rest of the world. I'm not against that. But we have a lot. We're number 28 in education, behind a long list of third world countries that spend a basis point, a fraction of what we spend per capita educating our kids. How about that? Why don't we solve that problem first? Why don't we build up our military? Why don't we take care of our vets? And then we can worry about it. So when these other countries do that, and you've seen them now, okay, well, we'll give up on the trade war because they know that if we have the guts and we don't have these feckless politicians that the second China says, oh, we're going to impose a tariff. Guess what? When you import 100 items from them and they import one of yours, you stay in the game for more than about 2 seconds, you can win. We have to start using our economic might to take care of ourselves first, and then we can help
And by
others.
the way, the president is just doing what he's supposed to do, which is actually run this country in a responsible way like any strong business CEO would. Because for years and years he's been taken advantage of. There has been a tremendous disparity in terms of what we've been doing with trade and with tariffs. He is simply asking that there be some reciprocity and that we should not continue to be taxed and burdened. It makes absolutely no sense. So yes, perhaps he's doing things in somewhat of an unconventional way. Thank God.
But also, don't mistake some of these deep-seated bureaucrats in these places. Okay? These guys aren't necessarily Trump fans. They are part of that establishment system that he's fighting against. I mean, when you look at what, say, Rick Grenell in Germany, the ambassador to Germany, has done, he's shutting down Iran because he's finally putting some pressure on Germany to not just do business. You got to pick. You either do business with Iran, the world's #1 sponsor, state sponsor of terrorism, or you do it with the United States. You can't have both. And guess what? Now they're going on those sanctions. That's going to be beneficial for America, but that's going to be beneficial for the world when you shut down those that are taking advantage.
One thought, then we'll get to the next one.
So yeah, I was more interested in how, like, you guys have talked a lot about the president right now, but so with the U.S. Embassy, they're saying creates a lot of distrust between nations and whatnot. And like you're saying, the U.S. is a big enough political or economic factor that, yeah, we're going to disrupt a lot. And so with that, my question is more is how is the Trump presidency setting, I guess, the tone for the future of, yeah, making sure these relations are secure with nations, that they feel like they can trust us. Not that we're some erratic, decision-making political, because while we might have our own perceptions, the perceptions from them towards us is this is how they feel like that. And I don't think that's necessarily always the best.
Well, they respect us now. Now they know we're not going to be taken advantage of. That's the bottom line.
For the future,
Well, I mean, listen, I don't think we should set the precedent where, fine, we'll fix it now, and then we'll go back to letting you take advantage of us forever. We have the opportunity to change that path forever, right? I mean, go back in history, name another civilization that would ever just cede power to others. I mean, make no mistake, these countries are out for themselves, okay? They are going to do what's best for them. When they're a little upset with us, that means we're actually doing something right. When they love everything that we do, it's because they think we're schmucks. And we're done being schmucks.
But the president is taking meetings, so he's meeting with all the different world leaders. He flies all over the world. He's in Saudi Arabia, whether he sits down with Kim Jong-un about North Korea, or he's meeting with Abe, in Japan. He's President Xi, China, all of the above. He is actually someone who's willing to sit at the table and talk about it in a meaningful way. And that's actually what I think we want in terms of the future of diplomacy coming from the Oval Office.
And I will say this, just to wrap it up, is that your initial question you said is based on how are they going to trust us? What's not to trust? He's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. He's telling them exactly, he's being as transparent as he possibly could be. He's standing on a stage and saying that we are going to put America first. And he's done exactly that. So there hasn't been any
several times he's contradicted himself on Twitter, going back between the EU's a horrible trade nation to saying the EU.
Think of everything as a long negotiation, first of all. Second of all,
I'm just saying the inconsistency just makes it not trustworthy, and because of that, for the future of American international politics, at least,
But you brought up NAFTA because it's a good example. Who here heard all of the pundits say that NAFTA could never be renegotiated? It could never be done, right? We all heard that. It's never been done. It's been there for 20 years. No one's going to touch it. Well, guess what? He did it. Canada didn't come to the table. He did a deal with Mexico. Well, they also said, Mexico hates you. You can't do it. They'll never agree. Guess what? We made a deal. What happened? Canada came to the table in about 2 seconds because they realized they were going to be left in the dust. We have to use our money. If we're negotiating with smaller economies on the same level, we're doing ourselves a major disservice.
Oh. Thank you so much for your question. We appreciate it.
Alright, so first I just want to say thank you, all four of y'all for this, because this is awesome. Like, seriously, this is awesome. All four of you are awesome. I know we're not hearing a lot of that, but you're awesome. But Dawn, you had asked what the new outrage was on Twitter.
Yeah.
So I promptly pulled up my phone and I opened it up. And the headline from about 2 hours ago was, Stormy Daniels' lawyer challenges Donald Trump Jr. to an MMA fight for charity. It continues, Trump Jr. has yet to respond to a proposition of a 3-round mixed martial arts fight. So Dawn.
My boyfriend would kick his ass.
My question is, are you going to take the fight?
It's tempting because it'd be fun, but it'd be hard for him to chase his own ambulance. But the reality is this,
Shots fired.
That's all the other side has. You saw it this week. They have to resort to violence when they can't win with facts, when they can't win with logic, he has to pull people into a Supreme Court fight that have zero credibility for attention in the media. That's exactly the kind of nonsense we have to stop, rather than talking about the things that are actually effective. So, the media, because he's an adversary to Trump, will give this loser this platform. No one else should pay any attention. He's actually, by the way, and I don't think anyone will disagree, he's the greatest thing that happened in the last 2 weeks for Kavanaugh. Because he was so over the top, so asinine, that everyone realized that all of these accusations had zero credibility. So I think he should keep being out there. I think he should certainly run for office, because he's going to be the gift that keeps on giving, other than Hillary.
3 people in there. Thank you.
Avenatti and Wiener. They're a great ticket.
Speaking of Hillary, during the election, one of my probably favorite moments of the whole election was when Hillary said we can't have a president with the temperament of Donald Trump, and your father's beautiful response was, because you'd be in jail. My question,
open FBI investigation out of Arkansas looking into the Clinton Foundation. Be patient, my friends. That's all I can say. Thank you. Thank you.
We'll sell them on TVUSA.com. We'll sell them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Get in line, next one.
I can't even hear.
Hey, I appreciate you guys coming out. Okay, so now that Kavanaugh's on the court, there actually opens up the possibility of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, even though it's a minor possibility at the moment. So I'm pro-life, but I would actually be against the overturn of Roe v. Wade if it were to happen, because I think what would happen is the thing where, like, before the policy was instituted, where women were kind of performing abortions themselves, and it would be really bad with coat hangers and stuff, and like they would be threatened a lot of the time, as well as the kid, obviously. So what do you guys think about that?
I think that you bought into a leftist narrative by accident. Like that this is like what they were saying. If you got confirmed, this is what's going to happen. This is what's on their agenda. They're going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and all of a sudden women are going to be, trying to abort babies by themselves in closets. I just don't think that's realistic whatsoever. It's not going to happen whatsoever. It's not on their agenda.
Moving the
It's
embassy to Jerusalem, Israel. It's going to be war, billions of people are going to die. What happened? 3 people threw rocks for about 2.6 seconds. I'm amazed we're not in nuclear war with North Korea, because I feel like the other side was actually rooting for that. But each and every time, and that's the point, each and every time, there's hysteria.
Right, it's emotional hyperbole.
And you can only overplay your hand so many times. And I think, honestly, reasonable, rational people in this country, and there's a big swath of them. There's going to be extremes on either end. There's a big swath of Americans that are reasonable individuals. But they've been sold this bill of goods over and over again. Every time the sky is falling, every time it's the end of the world as we know it, and it just hasn't been the case. So, honestly, I wouldn't be worried about it. I think it's a fair question, but we keep hearing this, and every time it's a hysteric response to something that's not like that.
There's been majorities before on the court. It has never been overturned. It's settled law, stare decisis, and they just want to scare people and frighten them. And women will always be taken care of and have good health care in this country, and there's plenty of private and also clinics and whatnot to be able to make sure that women stay healthy and strong and can make individual choices.
Thank you for your question. Thank you.
Hey, Charlie, I'm a big fan of you.
Thank you.
But that aside, I have a question about policy. So, since 2016, so it's both the Obama administration and the Trump administration, U.S. has been running a bombing campaign in Yemen, and it's caused one of the greatest humanitarian disasters in recent history. One of the worst cholera outbreaks in the past quarter century. I mean, thousands have starved to death, and I'm just wondering, just what's your opinion on that?
Well, it's mostly because of the Saudis that's happening. I mean, you can see with this recent disappearance of the journalist in Turkey, which President Trump voiced concern about. I mean, the Saudi behavior has not exactly been stellar in recent weeks. But look, Yemen's a proxy war, make no mistake, between Iran and Saudi Arabia. I have my own personal opinions on this. I think that Saudi Arabia does not have our country's best interests at heart. 15 out of 19 of the hijackers were Saudi Arabian from 9/11. I can say this personally. I don't want to grow close to a country that is, financing and planning 9/11. With that being said, I think that that's a horrific thing that's happening in Yemen, but there is a vast underreporting of how the world is a substantially safer place because of this president. Under Barack Obama, there were more belligerent drone strikes, there were more failed foreign policy decisions, we were closer to war with North Korea, ISIS was on the run, Putin was on the aggression in Crimea. Those are 4 sectors in the world where America was in retreat and the world is becoming a more dangerous place. Because of Donald Trump's foreign policy decisions, and I mean, people say that he's weak on Russia. Nothing could be further from the truth. He is stronger on Russia than any other recent president. I'll just give you the statistics. He kicked out Russian nationals from the Russian embassy and closed it down here in America. He shut down U.S. embassies all across the Russian, Western Russia. He armed the Ukrainian rebels. In defiance twice to Putin's wishes, he launched Tomahawk missiles in Syria against the Assad regime when they used chemical weapons. He sanctioned Russia multiple times, which is considered an act of war, and he never said the words, "We'll have more flexibility after the election."
Right.
And and so he is substantially tougher on Russia than people ever give him credit for. But he also doesn't want a war. He wants to have a conversation, which is why I actually support what he did in Helsinki, to have a conversation with the other side, which he did with Kim Jong-un, Abe, so on and so forth. And Don talks about this all the time. The underreporting of the complete destruction of ISIS is unbelievable. I mean, we've heard for years, ISIS. Barack Obama said, I can't get rid of these guys.
We promoted them from JV to varsity.
Yep.
It made a real problem.
Yeah, this is the JV team.
President Trump.
They're not going to do it. It's the JV team. And like they start killing thousands of people throughout Iraq, and all of a sudden they're not the JV team any longer. You don't hear about ISIS too much. So I will say this. Yemen, you have my sympathy personally on that. Broadly, President Trump deserves an unbelievable amount of credit for what he's done on the world stage to make the world a safer and better place.
Most specifically as it relates to Saudi Arabia and Yemen, this president very recently is also not just asking or suggesting, insisting that Saudi Arabia take financial responsibility and become more involved in that geopolitical region. That is their business and responsibility to do so, and President Trump is going to make sure that they do.
Well, and perhaps lastly, because we brought up Israel and the embassy, what about the relationship that Israel has in the Middle East now? I mean, when you think about it, Israel and Saudi and the United States working against Iran for the first time ever. I mean, that's a pretty big step that wouldn't have been taken. And when you have a power like Israel there, they have to be recognized, they have to be out there, and they're in the conversation, which wasn't the case a long time
Well, and I know there's probably a lot of anti-Israel activists that walked out of the room, but answer me a question, why the Islamic faith can have 44 countries and the Jewish just can't have one. Why there can't be a Jewish state. Why that their focus is on the one free enterprise, Western-based democracy in the region. And you can answer that question. So thank you so much for the question. We appreciate it.
Hello, my name is Viet. Thank you for coming, for being here. I have a very simple question. It's about the recent sexual misconduct things in the news. I'm just wondering, at what point do we start believing women in their accusations? Because what is hold on, I'm not doing it because I don't know if you have daughters. Donald, you have.
I am a daughter.
And just imagine if one of your daughters came up and said.
I am a daughter.
Okay, I understand. Imagine if you go up, if your daughter came up to you, Donald, and said, "Hey, Dad, years ago this happened to me," and this is for everyone. We're all going to have families one day, right? And then what is it going to take for your daughter to come up to you?
I'll tell you.
Facts would be nice.
One shred of evidence would be great. A police report filed. No, you asked the question, I'm answering.
Hold on, I'm not done yet. I mean, what degree of evidence? Are you going to ask them to take a DNA sample when you're there?
It would be a police report, calling the police. If there's any bit of evidence at all, what you're basically saying. Think about the inverse of what you're saying. Just believe women. Think about how scary that is. Just believe women. I can say right now, you sexually assaulted me.
Uh-oh.
At what point are you going to believe me? You sexually assaulted me. Okay? And I'm saying to your point.
I believe her.
Right?
I believe her. You're a sexual assaulter. All of a sudden you're guilty until proven innocent. Do you believe this woman? Do you believe this woman?
You keep asking about, do you believe me? Do you believe that you sexually assaulted me?
I am, wow.
I don't listen. I don't remember when it happened. I don't remember where it happened. I don't remember how it happened. I just remember that it was you.
Right.
It was you.
I understand. I'm going to answer that.
You want to ask about his daughters? Why don't you ask about his sons? Because he has sons too.
I'm going to answer
because she just accused you.
Okay, I understand. The percentage of women that falsely accuse men is little to none. So that's a false comparison.
It's not a false comparison. It doesn't matter.
But you are the one guy.
I just accused you, okay? Stop saying it's false comparison. It doesn't matter how many there are.
Okay, listen, I'm not saying that falsely accusing someone is wrong.
What we're saying is this country has due process. There should be evidence. There should be evidence before you convict anyone. For me to point and say, you sexually assaulted me, and to have your life end simply because I'm a woman and I said it, would be pointedly wrong. I want the same respect for men that there is for women, the same process for men as there is for women, because I'm actually something that believes in equality between men and women, and not extra privileges because I'm a woman.
Right, I understand that, but there have been multiple women that accused Kavanaugh, and it wasn't.
That's wrong.
That's wrong.
That's wrong. No, first of all, Julie Swetnick
Said he was a gang raper.
Gang rape. First of all, she never accused him of anything. She said he was there and the leader of a child gang rape ring, which was orchestrated by creepy porn lawyer Abineri, which was disproven, discredited, changed.
She got discredited on NBC.
Number 2, Ramirez from Yale. 0 corroborating witnesses. It was such a crazy story, the New York Times were going to run it. Dr. Ford, she changed her story 5 times. 4 people were there. 3 people were there.
Her best friend denied it.
You ask what's going to take to believe someone?
Maybe
How
a
about
best
a
friend that
place,
doesn't have
a
it?
year, a zip code, a house, evidence, anything, any supporting detail?
Anything. There was nothing.
How about the witnesses she said that were there? Kaiser, Leland Kaiser.
She got bullied by the
she's talking
FBI.
about.
Monica told her to adjust her statement and be more supportive, and she still held the ground and said that it never happened, and she had no idea why her name was being thrown in. That was her best friend, okay? Let me tell you something. If I narrowly escaped my rape and I run out of a house and I literally almost got raped, and my best friend is still inside, there's no way the next day I'm going to school and just saying, okay, best friend, nothing to say about last night. Let's go to math class. Do you realize how ridiculous the story was and how outlandish it was? Not a single word was uttered from her until 30 years later when she said something to her psychologist or psychiatrist, and then she says, oh, my husband, and of course her husband can't testify against her. Oh, I said something to my husband. It was, the story was dishonest. Christine Ford is a liar. Brett Kavanaugh is a good man, and I stand by it. That's the right story.
Thank you so much. Next question. Thank you.
Much tolerance is felt.
Thank you. Well, come with an argument that merits tolerance. We'll take a couple more questions.
All right, hey, thanks for coming. So this question is directed mostly at Don Jr. So one of the great benefits of the Trump presidency has been his willingness to consider ideas that maybe an older generation of more orthodox, even Republicans, might not consider. Right? And one thing that I've noticed talking to some of the younger generation of conservatives and sort of right-leaning youth is that we aren't as big anymore about things like the drug war. So is there any consideration of maybe ending that or doing something about that?
I mentioned that. Listen, it's evolved. I mean, the drug war. I think we can all look at the statistics and the numbers and the money that was spent on all of that. I think you can look at certainly as it relates to marijuana, and there's a debate about the good versus bad. I mean, I definitely know plenty of guys that drink way too much, and if they were smoking weed, they'd probably be better off. But I also know the corollary to that argument from law enforcement, which is that just legalizing it doesn't end the black market for some of those things, and I assume that's where you're going. You know, you also have the issue of opioids and the thousands and thousands of people that are just, across every demographic, across every spectrum that are killed every year because of these things. So it is a slippery slope argument. There are good and bad to all of these things, and it really depends on the exact specifics, where you're going to draw the line. My father is a very pragmatic and rational guy. If we can present the argument in a way that can be accepted, he'll certainly look at it. That's what he is. He's a business guy. He'll look at it, and there are ways to look at these. He's not just dogmatic, old school, 75-year-ago conservative. I mean, he will do what's right for the country, and he'll certainly look at anything that's a viable option.
And there's a war in this country, and it's on against drug addiction, because many people are suffering, and families that suffer from the opioid addiction, and this president is very strongly committed to doing something about it. He said it when he was campaigning, and he's doing something about it now.
Thank you so much. We'll take 2 more. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jake Lunston, and I have 3 things to say. I promise I'll be brief. First, I'd like to give credit where it's due. You guys, massive credit. Being able to stand up here and give your view eloquently and being able to speak to this group of people on a campus, massive achievement. I think it's a really under-celebrated ability, being able to speak your view using sophisticated language and being able to communicate that without solely including emotion and using facts like you do. And the rate at which you do this is incredible, going state to state, doing this over and over again. Second, and I think that you guys don't require any analysis on the way that you do this. I think what requires analysis is those who are not eloquent enough to wait for a question and ask and truly learn and be receptive to what you're saying. They require analysis, not you. Third, I have a question for Candace. It's a 2-part question. One, what was the catalyst to cause you to vote Republican? And 2, what will keep you voting Republican in the future?
Actually, in the past, I've never been a Republican. The first time that I registered to vote as a Republican was the day that Brett Kavanaugh got confirmed. So that's people don't actually know. I didn't start out as a Republican. I was a liberal. I was a Democrat. I wasn't politically inclined. The turning point for me, as I mentioned before, was seeing how viciously they tried to smear Donald Trump. And they smear people and it actually hurts them. We're in this weird post-journalistic world now where because the smears are so outlandish and so ridiculous, it forces you to wonder, stop for a second and say, wait, what am I reading? Am I so much of a robot that I can't stop and understand that this is just a vicious smear job? And that, thankfully, when Donald Trump came down the escalator, they had just said, hey, this guy, he shouldn't be the president because he was a reality TV star, they probably would have still had me. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I would have still been sort of sleeping and existing under the brainwash, but they were vicious. They were angry. They wanted blood. Ivanka, who, I worked in the fashion world for a little bit, was celebrated, loved. Everybody loved Ivanka. Now they're doing skits calling her complicit, and putting pressure on her and saying nasty things about her. And it made me go, wait a second, this doesn't seem real to me. And so I dug. And the second part of the awakening for me was the police thing. The narrative that they were selling as if, as a black person, I couldn't walk out of my door without being gunned down. Police are just waiting outside, just going, is there a black person? Because I can't wait to gun one down. And so once I got over the emotions of seeing someone like Philando Castillo murdered, I paused and I researched. And when I researched, I was shocked to see that in that year, in 2016, 16 unarmed black men were shot and killed by police officers. Of course, that means that you have a higher chance of being struck down by lightning as a black person than you do of being gunned unarmed by a police officer. So I was forced to go inward and ask myself, why? Why is it that they're selling this every single night on the news? And of course, it's because they wanted me to go, oh my God, I'm a black person and I should be fearful and I need to vote for Hillary so that I don't vote for a person that endorses this sorts of behavior. So really, thanks to Donald Trump coming down the escalator, I'm standing on this stage today.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate what you all do. What you were saying is a huge gift for our nation and people like me who want to engage in politics at a young age.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Keep it up.
I have to interject before this question. It was so amazing, and this is so true. Someone just said to Candace while she's talking, she's not black, which according to the left, that's actually what they believe. They believe that someone loses their blackness as soon as they become a conservative. They did this to Clarence Thomas, they did this to Dr. Ben Carson, and now they're doing this to Candace Owens. Because for them, they think blackness means leftism.
No. They think that they own black people. Make no mistake, the left thinks that they own black people. So the black person has the audacity to stand on stage and say that I no longer agree with these policies and I would like to think with my brain as opposed with my skin tone. They lose their minds. Here's an argument that I get all the time. People say to me, Candace, it's not that you're a conservative, it's that you support Trump. Black people are free, it's just because you support Trump and that's what we can't get down with. Well, that's a lie, because Dr. Ben Carson was running against Donald Trump and they smeared him, and they told him he couldn't be black. They told Dr. Condoleezza Rice, when she worked for the Bush administration, that she was no longer black. So make no mistake, black people in this country are not free, and that's why I do what I do every single day, so that they have an aspiration and understand.
Last question, and then we'll do closing statements.
I don't really like mics.
But the rest of the people do, so you gotta use one, because they can't hear you up there.
So I just want to preface my question. I walked in here and I saw just that massive American flag.
Greatest ever.
A lot of pride and hope. Because I think what that flag stands for is some of the most beautiful things in the world. And I also walked into this room and I saw the protesters, and I felt that same pride and hope. Because I also think that protest is perhaps one of the most American things that you can possibly do. So I'd like to applaud them, but also I wish that they had not necessarily had the booze and the chants and other things, because I feel like I had my hand up for quite a long time while you were, just having your discussion at the beginning, because I feel like you spent a very long time not necessarily talking about perhaps your plans for the future, your hopes for what the president and senators would do in the future, but instead listing older accomplishments or Obama's failures or things like that. So my question isn't really a question that needs to be answered right now, here and today, but it's more of a hope that in the future you perhaps just ignore them, because I don't want to hear you saying...
Is it really hard to keep talking when someone interrupts you? Is it really keep talking? Come on, keep talking. It's really hard when someone's interrupting you.
But also, it's hard, for example, people in the civil rights movement had things poured on them, dumped on them.
Yeah, like Candace when she goes to a restaurant in Philadelphia.
Not necessarily her, but it's important to be the bigger man. I mean, I know it is difficult, I'm sure.
We are being the bigger people by allowing them to
So what I was hoping is, in the future, instead of discussing necessarily Obama's failures or Hillary's failures or anything like that, I want to hear your stance on policy, your stance on taxes, your stance on immigration, instead of accomplishments.
With all due respect, I'm not running for office. I'm here to talk about I'm serious. I'm not campaigning for myself. If I was, then I would talk about what I'm going to do for this economy. I'm existing in an economy, and it's very important for me that I get the word out and help people to understand that despite everything they're reading in the media, which is largely negative, what did you say, 92% negative, Kim? 92% negative, we're here to tell you the truth of what's happening in America, to make people understand that the media is the one that's sowing discord. The media is the one that's dysfunctional. The media is the one telling us that black and white people hate each other, that men and women have to fight. I'm here to get out the truth about this administration and to tell black Americans and all Americans that we all have an opportunity to embrace all of the goodness that is happening in this country. So I understand your hopes. I'm going to do what I'm going to do because it's my agenda in terms of what I want to do in America.
Thank you. I know we said only two more, but I wanted to kind of end on a different question than that, just something about we could all chip in on.
Hi, this is really weird. I actually have met Candace and Charlie before at Student Action Summit.
What's up?
I was a big fan of you guys. I just want to say thank you for being here. I came from Georgia College. It's like an hour and a half away. And yeah, I'm really excited. I actually just had a question for Don Jr. My brother is currently deployed on the USS Harry Truman. And I'm kind of shaking because I'm nervous, but he's a huge fan. And I was wondering, his name is Robert. I was wondering if you could, if I could record you all if you want.
Sure.
Just saying hi and thanks or whatever.
You recording?
Yeah, I am. His name's Robert Hicks.
Hey, Robert, thank you for everything that you're doing. You exemplify what's great in America, and we couldn't be happier. I think everyone in this room...
Give it up for Robert Hicks, all right?
You want to support our military, our veterans. You want to make sure we have strength so that we don't have to go to war. Thank you for what you're doing, Robert. You're the man.
Thank you so much. So,
I don't know if we can end no better than that.
Well, I was going to say, Don, any closing thoughts? Sorry, guys, we got to get running.
Now, listen, hey, guys, it took guts for you to be here. We thank you for coming out and being vocal about this because it's great to see. I mean, these policies are working, and despite what you hear, despite what you read, you guys being here, you guys staying energized, you guys staying in the fight mean that we can continue this, we can keep this country going on the right track, and we can make America great again. So thanks for being a part of it. Thanks, guys.
You guys are choosing to get involved, to open your minds, and really care about the country. We appreciate and honor the fact that you have a lot of options to do with your time. You decided to come here and spend some with us. We're very grateful for that, and it's a way to get involved. Don't live your life on the sidelines. Make your voice heard.
America is the greatest country in the world. Trump is our wonderful president, and Brett Kavanaugh is our Supreme Court Justice. God bless the state of America.
Thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. Thank you guys.